Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Very warm welcome on behalf of Anishat Island, Govindadwipa, for this Monday morning Śrimad-Bhagavatam discussion. Today we are reading from Śrimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, entitled The Pandavas Retire Timely, Text 16. Before we discuss on this verse, let's sing Jayadratha Madhav. Jayadratha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jayadratha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jayadratha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jayadratha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jayadratha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jayadratha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jayadratha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jayadratha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Shri Radhe. Jaya Nitai Sachinandana Gaura Hari, Nitai Sachinandana Gaura Hari. Jaya Nitai Sachinandana Gaura Hari, Nitai Sachinandana Gaura Hari. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakacarya Ashtotra Shatashi Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रीला हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय, मथुरा धाम की जय, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय, मायापुर धाम की जय, गंगा माई की जय, यमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu Krishne Materastu. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from Śrimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, entitled The Pandavas Retire Timely, Text 16. Yad-doḥṣu praṇihitaṁ guru-bhīṣma-karṇa naptra Śalya saindhava-bālikādyai astrāṇy amogha-mahimāni nirūpitāni nopaspṛśur nṛhari-dāsam ivāsurāṇi yad-doḥṣu praṇihitaṁ guru-bhīṣma-karṇa naptra Śalya saindhava-bālikādyai astrāṇy amogha-mahimāni nirūpitāni nopaspṛśur nṛhari-dāsam ivāsurāṇi yad-doḥṣu praṇihitaṁ guru-bhīṣma-karṇa naptra Śalya saindhava-bālikādyai astrāṇy amogha-mahimāni nirūpitāni nopaspṛśur nṛhari-dāsam ivāsurāṇi. Word by word. Yet, under whose, doḥṣu, protection of arms, ma praṇihitaṁ, myself being situated, Guru Droṇacārya, Bhīṣma, Karna, Naptra, Bhūriśravā, Trigatha, King Suśarmā, Śalya, Saindhava, King Jayadratha, Bāhlika, brother of Maharaj Shantanu, Bhishma's father, Adyai, etc., astrāṇy, weapons, amogha, invincible, mahimāni, very powerful, nirūpitāni, applied, not, upaspṛśur, touched nṛhari-dāsam, servitor of Nṛsiṁhadeva, Prahlāda. Eva like astrāṇy, weapons employed by the demons. Translation: great generals like Bhīṣma, Droṇa, Karna, Bhūriśravā, Susharmā, Śalya, Jayadratha and Bāhlika all directed their invincible weapons against me. But by his, Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair on my head. Similarly, Prahlāda Mahārāja, the supreme devotee of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, was unaffected by the weapons of the demons used against him. Purport by His Divine Grace Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. This is a long 4-page purport, and Śrīla Prabhupada describes some of the personalities mentioned in this verse. The history of Prahlāda Mahārāja, the great devotee of Nṛsiṁhadeva, is narrated in the 7th canto of Śrimad-Bhagavatam. Prahlāda Mahārāja, a small child of only 5 years, became the object of envy for his great father Hiranyakashipu, only because of his becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. The demon father employed all his weapons to kill the devotee son Prahlāda, but by the grace of the Lord, he was saved from all sorts of dangerous actions by his father. He was thrown in a fire in boiling oil from the top of a hill underneath the legs of an elephant, and he was administered poison. At last, the father himself took up a chopper to kill his son, and thus Nṛsiṁhadeva appeared and killed the heinous father in the presence of the son. Thus, no one can kill the devotee of the Lord. Similarly, Arjuna was also saved by the Lord, although all dangerous weapons were employed by his great opponents like Bhīṣma. Now, the description about Karna is given. Karna is born of Kunti by the sun god prior to her marriage with Maharaj Pandu. Karna took his birth with bangles and earrings, extraordinary signs for an undaunted hero. In the beginning, his name was Vasusena, but when he grew up, he presented his natural bangles and earrings to Indradeva, and thenceforth he became known as Vaikartana. After his birth from maiden Kunti, he was thrown in the Ganges. Later, he was picked up by Adhiratha, and he and his wife Radha brought him up as their own offspring. Karna was very charitable, especially toward the Brahmanas. There was nothing he could not spare for a Brahmana. In the same charitable spirit, he gave in charity his natural bangles and earrings to Indradeva, who, being very much satisfied with him, gave him in return a great weapon called Shakti. He satisfied with him, gave him in return. He was admitted as one of the students of Dronacharya, and from the very beginning, there was some rivalry between him and Arjuna. Seeing his constant rivalry with Arjuna, Duryodhana picked him up as his companion, and this gradually grew into greater intimacy. He was also present in the great assembly of Draupadi's Swayamvara function, and when he attempted to exhibit his talent in that meeting, Draupadi's brother declared that Karna could not take part in the competition because of his being the son of a Shudra carpenter. Although he was refused in the competition, still when Arjuna was successful in piercing the fish target on the ceiling and Draupadi bestowed her garland upon Arjuna, Karna and other disappointed princes offered an unusual stumbling block to Arjuna while he was leaving with Draupadi. Specifically, Karna fought with him very valiantly, but all of them were defeated by Arjuna. Duryodhana was very much pleased with Karna because of his constant rivalry with Arjuna. And when he was in power, he enthroned Karna in the state of Anga. Being baffled in his attempt to win Draupadi, Karna advised Duryodhana to attack King Drupada, for after defeating him, both Arjuna and Draupadi could be arrested. But Dronacharya rebuked them for this conspiracy and they refrained from the action. Karna was defeated many times not only by Arjuna but also by Bhimasena. He was a king of the kingdom of Bengal, Orissa and Madras combined. Later on, he took an active part in the Rajasuya sacrifice of Maharaj Yudhishthira. And when there was gambling between the rival brothers designed by Shakuni, Karna took part in the game. And he was very pleased when Draupadi was offered as a bet in the gambling. This fed his old grudge. When Draupadi was in the game, he was very enthusiastic to declare the news, and it is he who ordered Dushasan to take away the garments of both Pandavas and the Draupadi. He asked Draupadi to select another husband because, being lost by the Pandavas, she was rendered a slave of the Kurus. He was always an enemy of the Pandavas, and whenever there was an opportunity, he tried to curb them by all means. During the battle of Kurukshetra, he foresaw the conclusive result and he expressed his opinion that due to Lord Krishna's being the chariot driver of Arjuna, the battle should be won by Arjuna. He always differed with Bhishma, and sometimes he was proud enough to say that within 5 days he could finish up the Pandavas, if Bhishma would not interfere with his plan of action. But he was much mortified when Bhishma died. He killed Ghatotkacha with the Shakti weapon obtained from Indradeva. His son Vrishasena was killed by Arjuna. He killed the largest number of Pandava soldiers. At last, there was a severe fight with Arjuna, and it was he only who was able to knock off the helmet of Arjuna. But it so happened that the wheel of his chariot stuck in the battlefield mud. And when he got down to set the wheel right, Arjuna took the opportunity and killed him, although he requested Arjuna not to do so. This was the description about Karna. Now Srila Prabhupada describes about Napta or Bhūriśravā. Bhūriśravā was the son of Somadatta, a member of the Kuru dynasty. His other brother was Śalya. Both the brothers and the father attended the Swayamvara ceremony of Draupadi. All of them appreciated the wonderful strength of Arjuna due to his being the devotee friend of the Lord. And thus Bhūriśravā advised the sons of Dhritarashtra not to pick any quarrel or fight with them. All of them also attended the Rajasuya Yajna of Maharaj Yudhishthira. He possessed one Akshahuni regiment of army, cavalry, elephants, and chariots, and all these were employed in the battle of Kurukshetra on behalf of Duryodhana's party. He was counted by Bhima as one of the Yuthapatis. In the battle of Kurukshetra, he was especially engaged in a fight with Satyaki, and he killed 10 sons of Satyaki. Later on, Arjuna cut off his hands, and he was ultimately killed by Satyaki. After his death, he merged into existence of Vishwadeva. Next, Srila Prabhupada explains the personality of Trigatha or Susharmā. Son of Maharaj Vruddhakshetra, he was the king of Trigatha Desha, and he was also present in the Swayamvara ceremony of Draupadi. He was one of the allies of Duryodhana, and he advised Duryodhana to attack the Matsya Desha, Darbhanga. During the time of cow stealing in Viratanagar, he was able to arrest Maharaj Virata, but later Maharaj Virata was released by Bhima. In the battle of Kurukshetra, he also fought very valiantly, but at the end he was killed by Arjuna. Next, Srila Prabhupada explains about Jayadratha, another son of Maharaj Vruddhakshetra. He was the son of Sindhu Desha, modern Sindh, Pakistan. His wife's name was Dushala. He was also present in the Swayamvara ceremony of Draupadi, and he desired very strongly to have her hand, but he failed in the competition. But since then, he always sought the opportunity to get in touch with Draupadi. When he was going to marry in the Śalya Desha on the way to Kamyavana, he happened to see Draupadi again and was too much attracted to her. The Pandavas and Draupadi were then in exile after losing their empire in gambling, and Jayadratha thought it wise to send news to Draupadi in an illicit manner through Kotishashya, one of his associates. Draupadi at once refused vehemently the proposal of Jayadratha, but being so much attracted by the beauty of Draupadi, he tried again and again. Every time he was refused by Draupadi, he tried to take her away forcibly on his chariot. And at first Draupadi gave him a good dashing, and he fell like a cut root tree. But he was not discouraged, and he was able to force Draupadi to sit on the chariot. This incident was seen by Dhaumya Muni, and he strongly protested the action of Jayadratha. He also followed the chariot, and through Dhatri Yika, the matter was brought to the notice of Maharaj Yudhishthira. The Pandavas then attacked the soldiers of Jayadratha and killed them, and at last Bhima caught hold of Jayadratha and beat him severely, almost dead. Then all but 5 hairs were cut off his head, and he was taken to all the kings and introduced as a slave of Maharaj Yudhishthira. He was forced to admit himself to be the slave of Maharaj Yudhishthira before all the princely order, and in the same condition he was brought before Maharaj Yudhishthira. Maharaj Yudhishthira was kind enough to order him released, and when he admitted to being a tributary prince under Maharaj Yudhishthira, Queen Draupadi also desired his release. After this incident, he was thrown to return to his country. Being so insulted, he went to Gangatri in the Himalayas and undertook a severe type of penance to please Lord Shiva. He asked his benediction to defeat all the Pandavas, at least one at a time. Then the battle of Kurukshetra began, and he took sides with Duryodhana. In the first day's fight, he was engaged with Maharaj Drupada. then with Virata, and then with Abhimanyu. While Abhimanyu was being killed, mercilessly surrounded by 7 great generals, the Pandavas came to his help, but Jayadratha, by the mercy of Lord Shiva, repulsed them with great ability. At this, Arjuna took a vow to kill him, and on hearing this, Jayadratha wanted to leave the warfield and asked permission from the Kauravas for this cowardly action. But he was not allowed to do so. On the contrary, he was obliged to fight with Arjuna. And while the fight was going on, Krishna reminded Arjuna that the benediction of Lord Shiva upon Jayadratha was that whoever would cause his head to fall on the ground would die at once. He therefore advised Arjuna to throw the head of Jayadratha directly onto the lap of his father, who was engaged in the penances at Samanta Panchaka pilgrimage. This was actually done by Arjuna. Jayadratha's father was surprised to see a severed head on his lap, and he at once threw it to the ground. The father immediately died, his forehead being cracked in 7 pieces. This was a long purport, and Srila Prabhupada was describing about some of the great personalities mentioned in this verse: Karna, Bhūriśravā, Susharmā, and Jayadratha. Before we discuss on this verse, let us offer some prayers. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namashreshtham Manamapi Shachiputram Patra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Gurupurim Mathurim Goshtavati Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Adadandastranam Dante Dam Yachah Punaha Punaha Shriman Rupa Padambhojam Dhulisyam Janma Janmani. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dīnabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today's verse is Śrimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, entitled The Pandavas Retire Timely, Text 16. Yad-doḥṣu ma praṇihitaṁ guru-bhīṣma-karṇa Trigatha Śalya Saindhava Bālikādyai astrāṇy amogha-mahimāni nirūpitāni nopaspṛśur nṛhari-dāsam ivāsurāṇi. Translation. Great generals like Bhīṣma, Droṇa, Karna, Bhūriśravā, Suśarmā, Śalya, Jayadratha and Bāhlika all directed their invincible weapons against me. But by his, Lord Krishna's grace, They could not even touch a hair on my head. Similarly, Prahlāda Mahārāja, the supreme devotee of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, was unaffected by the weapons the demons used against him. We are seeing that these particular verses are the verses where Arjuna is glorifying Krishna. This is the natural propensity of all the living entities. And Arjuna, being a close associate and friend of Krishna and a devotee of Krishna, bhaktosi me sakha cheti. Krishna himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita that Arjuna is his devotee and his friend. And therefore the transcendental mystery and secret of Bhagavad Gita is known to Arjuna, is being revealed to Arjuna. This is a position of the pure devotee of Krishna, that they are always remembering Krishna. Madchitta madgat prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. This is the situation of pure devotees, that their mind is absorbed in Krishna. Madchitta, madgat prana. Whatever the life force, their life force is engaged in Krishna, in service of Krishna. Bodhayanta parasparam. And what do? They about Krishna. Bodhayanta. They're remembering, their mind is absorbed in Krishna and they're talking about Krishna. Bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam. So they are engaged in Krishna katha. Nityam. And the word nityam is used by Krishna in that verse of Bhagavad Gita. Nityam means always. This is the position of the pure devotee of Krishna, like Arjuna. His mind is absorbed in Krishna. His life force is engaged in the service of Krishna. And he is always talking about Krishna. So here in these verses, Arjuna is experiencing separation from Krishna. So this is there is this vipralambha. It is mentioned in the scriptures that the service ends separation. So Arjuna is serving Krishna in separation by being absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. And in that absorption of thoughts of Krishna, he is talking about Krishna to Yudhishthira Maharaj and informing to Yudhishthira Maharaj about how Krishna was present with Arjuna at every moment, and every moment giving protection to Arjuna. Especially in this particular verse, it is mentioned about how Krishna was protecting Arjuna every moment in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. This is the Partha Sarathi. So Krishna's another name is Partha Sarathi. Partha is son of Pritha, Arjuna, and Sarathi is the charioteer. So Krishna took the role of charioteer of Arjuna. And it is mentioned in Mahabharata how Krishna asked Arjuna to get out of the chariot first. After the end of the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna asked Arjuna to get out of the chariot first. What was the reason for that? Because if Krishna got out of the chariot first and Arjuna later, then Arjuna would have died in an explosion of the chariot. Arjuna got out first and then Krishna got out and the chariot exploded. It means that it is because of Krishna that Arjuna was able to win the battle of Kurukshetra. It was Krishna's presence and the presence of Hanumanji in the flag. In the form of the flag, Hanumanji was present in the chariot. And Krishna personally was present with Arjuna. And that was the reason that nothing happened to Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Even though he was fighting with, here it is mentioned, great generals like Bhīṣma, Droṇa, Karna, Bhūriśravā, Susharmā, Śalya, Jayadratha and Bāhlika. All these are great warriors, starting with Bhīṣma. Bhīṣma himself had this vow that he could die when he thought was the right time to die. He had this boon. So Bhīṣma himself was such a strong person. And then Droṇacārya. Droṇacārya was a good Pandavas and Kauravas. Just Bhīṣma himself had the capacity in him to defeat the Pandavas. What to speak of having Droṇacārya, having Karna, having Bhūriśravā, Suśarmā, Śalya, Jayadratha and Bāhlika, who are mentioned in this verse. Each and every one of them were very powerful warriors. They had a lot of capability in them. And they directed invincible weapons against Arjuna. Arjuna concedes here. He says that, but by Krishna, Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair on my head. This is the conviction of a pure devotee of Krishna, that Krishna is always protecting everyone, not only the pure devotee, but Krishna, because Krishna says, Sarva yonishu kaunteya murteya sambhavantiya tasam Brahma mahadionir aham bija pradapita. Krishna mentions that of all the living entities in this whole universe, Sarva yonishu, and he is addressing Arjuna as son of Kunti, Kaunteya, murteya sambhavantiya, whoever are existing here as the living entities in this whole universe, tasam Brahma mahadionir aham bija pradapita. The material nature is the mother, and I am the seed-giving father. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the seed-giving father. How will he not protect anyone? Absolutely, he's going to protect each and every living entity, because every living entity are his children, directly children of Krishna. And Krishna actually mentions in the chapter 11 as well, when he shows his universal form to Arjuna, that tasmat tvam yudhyasva yasho labhasva. Krishna says to Arjuna that you fight, Arjuna, and you earn the fame. You get the fame for fighting this battle of Kurukshetra. Bhungshva shatrum jitva shatrum bhungshva rajyam samriddham. Jitva shatrum. Then Krishna says that you become victorious over your enemies. Jitva shatrum bhungshva rajyam samriddham. And you enjoy the kingdom, this glorious kingdom. Maya vahite vihitan hi purvam eva. So then Krishna says that by me, all of them have already been vanquished. Nimitram matram bhava savyasachin. In the end, Krishna says that you become an instrument to Arjuna. You become my instrument. But this is what the pure devotees of Krishna are. Actually, everyone is, but the realization is not there. That is the difference. That is the difference between a pure devotee of Krishna and a living entity who are unfortunately conditioned in this material universe. The difference is the pure devotee of Krishna knows that Krishna is the cause of all causes. Sarva karana karanam. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. That the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna, Ishvara Parama Krishna, and he is the embodiment of truth, eternality, and bliss. Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda. He himself has no beginning, but he is the beginning of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. As Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, that everything is emanating from him. Matta sarvam pravartate. When someone knows this, iti matva bhajante mam, one engages in loving devotional service of Krishna. How and who is such a person? Buddha. Such a person is really intelligent and he engages with bhava samanvita, with full emotions. One engages in loving devotional service of Krishna. Because there is nothing that the living entity can give to Krishna, because everything is Krishna's. Bhoktaram yajna-tapasam sarva-loka-maheshwaram suhridam sarva-bhutanam gyatva mam shantim pruchati. Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that sarva-loka-maheshwaram. That one has to understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a proprietor of the whole universe. There is nothing that the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not own. He owns everything. When one understands this, then Buddha Bhava Samanvita, one engages. So what a living entity can give is one's emotions. That is what the living entity can give to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nothing else can be given. There is this wonderful verse which says, Murkham vadati Vishnave. And then the Vishnaya, Dhiram dadati Vishnave, Ubhavata samam punyam bhavagrahi janardana. So sometimes one might say, instead of Vishnave, one might say Vishnaya, Om Vishnave Namah. That is the correct way of saying the mantra, Vishnu mantra. But someone might say Om Vishnaya Namah instead of saying Vishnave Namah. So it is said that Murkham dadati Vishnaya, Dhiram dadati Vishnave. So someone who is unfortunately doesn't know how to pronounce properly, say the name Vishnu mantra properly, might say it wrongly. But in the next line it is said that both of them get the same benefit if one is saying with bhava. Bhava grahi janardana. So it is, the Lord is looking into what is the internal emotion through which the person is talking about the Lord. The Lord is not looking into the details of how correctly things are done. It is not what the main thing is. How much of emotion is there? How much of surrender is there? That is how much of humility is there? That is very important. Amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, kshanti, arjavam, acharyopasanam, shaucham, stairyam, atma vinigraha. All the good qualities start with amanitvam. What does amanitvam mean? It means humility. Mana means pride. Mana dambha. It's very important. This is what we see here in this verse. Arjuna's humility is seen in this verse. Arjuna is saying that it is because of Krishna that not even touch a hair on my head. By Krishna's grace, all these great generals who had invincible weapons could not even touch a hair on Arjuna's head. This is so he understands that actually everything has been done by Krishna. He understands this in 100%, in truth. So as Krishna says, Janma karmam cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvata tyaktva deham punarjanmam naiti mameti so Arjuna. There's understanding that Krishna's birth, janma and karma, Krishna's activities are divyam, divine, transcendental. If one knows that in truth, in 100%, tyaktva deham punarjanmam naiti. After giving up this body, one does not take another body. Then what happens to such a person? Mam eti so Arjuna. Krishna says that such a person comes back to me. This is the transcendental position of the pure devotees of Krishna, that they are 100%, they 100% understand that Krishna's birth and Krishna's activities are divine. It's not that he is like a historical personality or someone who has come, who is a human being but endowed with a lot of great powers. No, when he's coming, he's Goloka namni nijadhamni talechatasya. It's coming from Goloka eva nivasati akilatma bhuto. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead has his transcendental realm. It's called Goloka Vrindavana. And he is Akhilatma Bhuta. What does it mean? He is present in the heart of all the living entities. Sarvasya chaham hrudi sannivishta. Mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that he is present in the heart of all the living entities. Hrudi sannivishta. And from him comes remembrance, forgetfulness, and memory. So, smritir jnanam apohanam cha. And the knowledge. So, smriti is the memory. Jnanam is knowledge and apohanam is forgetfulness. So the remembrance, the knowledge and the forgetfulness, everything is coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If someone wants to forget Krishna, Krishna gives them all the opportunity to forget him. Upadrashta anumanta cha bharta bhokta maheshwara. Anumanta. So Krishna gives the permission. If someone wants to forget Krishna, he gives the permission. Okay, you forget me. And what is the situation when one forgets Krishna? Immediately, one is in a conditioned state. Krishna Surya sama maya hai andhakar. Yaha Krishna taha nahi maya ra adhikar. This is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Krishna is like the sun and Maya is like darkness. So wherever there is sun, there can be no darkness. But if there is no sun, then there is darkness. Then we need different other things to bring light. We need electricity. There is moonlight. So all those lights are external lights are needed because there is darkness. But when there is sun, immediately there is no darkness. And what happens when one forgets Krishna? One is in darkness of Maya. What is Maya? Not this. Ma is not, Ya is this. What does not this mean? Not this means that we are accepting something that is temporary as permanent. That is the conditioned state. How do we accept something that is temporary as permanent? The body, the mind. The body and mind and the intelligence are all temporary. Material body, material mind, material intelligence. Because it is constantly changing. And we accept the temporary as permanent. We think that when the body is gone, everything is gone. Nothing exists after the body gets destroyed. Which is contrary to the real spiritual knowledge. The real spiritual knowledge says that न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूया अजो नित्यं शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे अच्छेद्योऽयम् अदाह्योऽयम् अक्लेद्यो अशोष्येव च नित्यः सर्वगतः स्थाणुर् अचलोऽयं सनातनः. What does all these verses mean? It clearly, Krishna very clearly gives lots and lots of verses, very clearly explaining that we are eternal entities. We are not temporary. It's not that from once we are born, and once we die, our existence has vanished. No. We are eternally existing. Aja. We are unborn. The body takes birth, the body grows old, and then the body dies. But that does not mean that we, as an original living entity, are in that state. The very fact that we witness all these changes means that we are not that. We are not the changing body. It's the physics. The physics is actually can be given as an example. If two trains are going in the same direction at the same speed, and a person in one train is looking at the person in another train, they will think that there is no movement at all. Why does that happen? Because both the things are moving at the same speed. So there is no movement seen. But if one train is stopped and another train is moving, the people experience, both the people in first train and second train, they experience that there is movement. Why? Because one is stopping and another is moving. Exactly the same thing can be used to understand that because we are eternal, we are able to experience all these changes that are taking place. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara tatha dehantaram prapti dhiras tatra na muhyati. Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that because there is presence of the proprietor of the body within the body, it's called Dehi. Dehina asmin yatha dehe. Within the body, there is a proprietor of the body, that is Dehi. Therefore, there is Kaumaram Yavanam Jara. This progression from childhood to youth to old age is taking place because of the presence of the proprietor of the body within the body. Tatha dehantaram prapti. So Krishna says that similarly, when the body gets old, one has to give up that. Anta, deha anta. Deha anta means the end of the body. Therefore, dhiras tatra na muhyati. So Krishna says that a sober person, therefore, is not bewildered, muhyati, by these changes. That is the real understanding. That is the self-realization. The self-realization is possible, and this self-realization is possible only in human form of life. In no other form of life it is possible. Therefore, Prahlāda Mahārāja says, and Prahlāda Mahārāja is mentioned in this verse, Srila Arjuna mentions that nopaspṛśur nṛhari-dāsam ivāsurāṇi. Similarly, Prahlāda Mahārāja, the supreme devotee of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, was unaffected by the weapons the demons used against him. Why? Because he was fully absorbed in remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead and chanting his holy names. Shravanam kirtanam vishnum smaranam padasevanam archanam vandanam dasyam sakyam atmanivedanam iti pumsarpitam vishnu bhakti ched navalakshana kriyeta bhagavati yadha tanmanni aditamuttamam. This is said by Srila Prahlāda Mahārāja. He gives what are the different ways in which one can engage in the loving devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, Vishnu. So he gives the 9 ways, Navavidha Bhakti, the 9 ways of engaging in devotional service of the Lord. And it starts with Shravanam, hearing. When one is hearing about the Lord, then there is Kirtanam. Then one can talk about the Lord. And when there is hearing and talking about the Lord, then there is Smaranam, remembrance of the Lord. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnum, Smaranam. And when there is hearing, chanting, and remembering, then there is Padasevanam. One is serving the lotus feet of the Lord. When there is hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, Smaranam, Padasevanam, then there is Archanam, offering the flowers and everything to the Lord. Then there is Vandanam, there is praying. The prayers are offered to the Lord. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnum, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam. Then there is servitude to the Lord. Then there is Sakyam. Then there is friendship to the Lord. Sakyam, the epitome of friendship to the Lord is Arjuna, who is speaking this verse. He is the epitome there. Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. And finally, there is Atmanivedanam. There is total surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Maharaj Bali is an example of that. There was day before yesterday, there was a festival called Tiruvonam that was celebrated in the state called Kerala in India. And the story behind that, one of the main stories behind that, it is a harvest festival also, but there is another important story. That is that Bali Maharaj is coming back to visit the subjects of his state. Because Bali Maharaj he actually gave up everything to Vamanadev. So Krishna appeared as a dwarf Brahmana to basically give back the whole universe to the different to Indra and other kings, because Bali Maharaj was representing the demons, even though he was a pure devotee of Krishna. Because he was pure devotee of Krishna, even though his guru Shukracharya told him not to give alms, not to give this to Brahmana, because Shukracharya knew that Krishna came as Vamana. to take away everything from Bali Maharaj. And therefore he even tried to become a bee, and he went into the kamandalu. Kamandalu is a vessel through which the water is offered at the lotus feet of the Brahmana, and then the offerings are given to the Brahmana. So Shukracharya even tried to become a bee, and he tried the water from coming down, so that Bali will not give the charity to Vamanadev. Then Vamanadev pierced the kamandalu, and that hit the left eye of the bee. And Shukracharya, therefore, when it is seen, Shukracharya is shown, his left eye is shown as totally gone. The left eye is gone, only one eye is there. So that's the story behind that. This is the transcendental position of devotees like Prahlāda Mahārāja and Bali Maharaj. So Bali Maharaj is the grandson of Prahlāda Mahārāja. This is where one is totally absorbed in remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in that absorption, one is smaranam. And then there is atma-nivedanam. This total, complete surrender onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this festival, which was that day before yesterday, on Saturday, so that was Tiruvonam. So then, Bali Maharaj, Vamanadev becomes the huge personality, and with one step he's taking the whole guru-bhīṣma-karṇa. So he's taking the heavenly planet and the earthly planet. One step the heavenly planet and everything else, and then the next step the whole earthly planet and everything in the middle planetary system. Then he says that where should I place my third step? Then Bali Maharaj says that please put it on my head. But this is Atma-nivedanam. So he has not only given everything to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he has given himself as well. He has said that you put the third step on my head. Such a wonderful devotional service of total surrender onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he goes into the Patal Loka, the lower planetary system. And Krishna, Vamanadev actually says to him that I will be the doorkeeper. I will be your doorkeeper. So this is a transcendental position of the devotee of Krishna, that the devotee, so this is the ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tataiva bhajamyaham. This is the reciprocity of relationship between the devotee and the Lord. The devotee wants to give everything to the Lord, and the Lord wants to give everything to the devotee. And as in any other case, the Lord will be the winner. So here, even though the Lord has taken everything from Bali Maharaj, he has given him more than what he has taken. By being the doorkeeper at the Patal Loka. This is such a transcendental. So Bali Maharaj is getting the association of Krishna, even though he's in Patal Loka. This is what is said. Narayana parasarvena putashna vidyati. Swarga apavarga narkeshu apitulyartha darshana. When one is surrendered onto Narayana, when one understands that Krishna, Narayana is everything, in the form of his energy, he is present everywhere. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyaktamurtina. Matsthani sarva bhutani na chaham teshu avasthita. So as Krishna is present in the form of his energy everywhere, so here Krishna is personally present with Bali Maharaj there. So then there is no difference. Swarga, apavarga, narakeshu. One might be in the heavenly planets, one might be in the earthly planetary, middle planetary system, or one might be in the lower planetary system. Anywhere in the universe, one is present. It doesn't matter. Because when one is remembering the Lord 100% with full surrender, with full conviction, then one is with the Lord. It is just like Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto, Abhinatvat Nama Namino. The name of the Lord, the remembrance of the Lord is exactly the same as the Lord himself. There is no difference. That is the spiritual world. In the material world, because there is matter, that's why it is called material world. So we have the material world and we have the spiritual world. What is the difference? The world is material, the word is used because it is made up of matter. The matter changes forms constantly. That is the nature of matter. And what is spirit? Spirit is eternally existing, unchangeable. It is not born and it does not die. So spirit is in the form, that's why it's called spiritual, the spiritual energy. So the energy is associated with spirit. We also call it as material energy, but that material energy is so energy and energetic. So that is a Shakti. Shakti and Shaktiman. Shakti is the energy and Shaktiman is the possessor of the energy. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead has got three types of energies. There is Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, and Tatastha Shakti. Antaranga Shakti is internal energy. So the internal energy is the transcendental spiritual energy, which is full of knowledge, full of existence, eternality, and full of bliss, Satchidananda. And then there is the external energy, Antaranga, Bahiranga. The external energy is the material world. And then there is Tatastha. Tatastha is in between the internal and external energy. And that's where all the living entities are lying. The living entities, therefore, have the option to either choose the internal energy or choose the external energy. And that's why they're called Tatastha. Tata means a shore, seashore. So in a seashore, the water comes and the water goes. So the water can be given the simile of the spiritual energy, and the land can be given the simile of material energy. So generally in this material world, we are under the influence of material energy. But sometimes we experience the spiritual energy, and then the spiritual energy goes away. And then again, sometimes we experience spiritual energy. So how can we have the spiritual energy constantly? We can have it constantly when we are Mameva ye prapadyanti, maya me tam tarantite. So Devi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. So Krishna says that this material energy of mine is Devi Hesha. Devi, it is divine. Even the material energy of Krishna is divine because it is coming from Krishna. So Mama Maya, but it is Duratyaya. It is very difficult to overcome. Why is it very difficult to overcome? Because of our identification with our external situation. We very strongly identify with whatever externally happens within the mind-body conglomerate. So the most important thing is to witness, to be as a witness. It's called Sakshi Bhava. So, and how can we Sakshi be in the state of that witness when we surrender onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Then Mameve Prapadyante, when we are remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Atma Ramasya Munya Nigrantapi Urukrame Kurvanti Ahaitukim Bhaktim Itam Bhuta Gunohari. So all the Atma Ramas are the people who are experiencing the bliss within. They do not need anything external to get. All this so-called happiness that is experienced is based on the bliss that is already present within. And these Atma-Ramas know this very clearly. They know this tattva, this in truth. They know this in truth. And therefore, they are nigrantapi urukrame. And they are engaged in kurvanti ahaitukim bhakti. Ahaituki. So they costless. Their devotional service is without any cost. And itham bhuta gunohari. So this is the situation of Arjuna. His devotion is ahaituki apratihata. So his devotional services cannot be checked under any circumstances, and it has no cost. It is a costless devotional service. This is the situation, transcendental situation of pure devotee of Krishna like Arjuna. And in this verse, he is very clearly demonstrating his total surrender onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, where he understands and he knows very clearly that Krishna is actually doing everything. He is just an instrument. He is an instrument in the hands of Krishna, and Krishna can use him whatever way he wants. And this is a last verse in the Shikshashtakam as well. Ashleshyava padaratam pinashtumam adarshana marmahatam karotuva yatha tathava vidadato lampato mat prananathastu sayavanapara. That is the last verse of Shikshashtakam, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that you can, oh Lord, you can either appear before me or not appear before me. You can do whatever you want. I am at your service. So this is the transcendental position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. They are always remembering each other. Krishna is remembering his devotees, and the devotees are remembering Krishna. And that remembrance is constantly ever increasing. Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadhanam. So this Amrita Swadhana, this tasting of nectar, is constantly increasing at every moment. That is the spiritual life. And by reading these verses and discussing it together, we are involved in that Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadhanam. At every moment we are experiencing this increased transcendental taste in loving remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. So with this prayer, that let us always remember that we are instruments in the hands of Krishna, and that Krishna is protecting every living entity in this whole universe. I would like to conclude this discussion. Thank you very much for your time. Let us have a look at the comments. Ushama, Hare Krishna, Chaitanya Kenjale, traveling 365 days Desi. Sir, I want marriage with foreign for doing all life. Hare Krishna. So traveling, Prabhu, you're saying you want marriage with foreign. As I understand, Prabhuji, you are traveling 365 days Desi Ji. It is the most important thing is that whatever desires we have, we work towards it, and then the result is not in our hand. So if you have some desire, you can work towards it. And then if the result is positive for you or not positive for you, you keep your equanimity of mind. I think that's very important. Anjaya Menti, Hare Krishna, Rahul Raj Ravi, Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Ram. Thank you all very much for your time. Śrimad-Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu Krishne Matirastu. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.